Welcome to True Crime and Celebrity News. If live breaking news and court trials and following true crime your thing, please consider subscribing to my channel, and if you see what you like in my content, please consider giving the content a thumbs up.
Good morning. I hope everyone's having a wonderful Saturday already, and everyone had a good Thanksgiving. I stayed home. I was supposed to go to my daughter's today, but I did not. We decided not to travel in the storm, so we're just gonna stay home. It's really sad. Makes me want to cry because I miss my baby. But that's okay. We'll see her on Christmas, and we'll have a good time. But I hope everyone got to see their families and their grandkids and their nieces and their nephews and all of that lovely stuff. I don't know why that Happy Thanksgiving thing keeps coming up. But so Monday is the case of Brian Walsh. And I kind of wanted to go through the case a little bit. Not too much, just kind of some stuff that I was sent. And I know I should probably just talk myself, but it's so much easier to let Joshua Ritter do it because he did such a wonderful job, and he's got wonderful production people that helped him put together this wonderful words are hard today. They put together this really good on how everything come to be Monday. You know what happened. You know, Anna was having an affair, which I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, come on, she was unhappy with Brian. He was getting people out of thousands and hundreds and thousands of dollars. She wanted out of that marriage, and I would have too. I don't blame that woman one bit. But Josh, he explains it all. So I guess we'll watch it by myself. Sorry, forgot to share it. So he gives it a rundown, a really good one, and I'll give some commentary in between. All right, here we go.
Trial finally ramping up. Now is the perfect time to revisit our case notes deep dive. In this special encore presentation, we lay out Brian Walsh's background, the full timeline of Anna Walsh's disappearance, and the evidence driving the state's case. This is everything you need to know before opening statements begin. Please enjoy. It was New Year's Day 2023 in Cohasset, a wealthy seaside enclave 40 minutes south of Boston along the Massachusetts Bay. Wife and mother of three, Anna Walsh was expected to commute to D.C., where she worked as a regional general manager for a real estate firm. She would never make it to the nation's capital. Hours after she celebrated New Year's Eve with friends and family would be the last time the petite brunette would ever be seen alive. Less than a month later, Brian Walsh, Anna's husband of 8 years, would be arrested and charged with her murder. To this day, her body has never been located. Please join me for this.
I just have to say, and it makes me sad, that this happened on my birthday, January 4th. I wish it wouldn't have, So, okay.
Special episode of Courtroom Confidential Case Notes. During my time as a DA, there were several different types of cases that were seen as the most difficult to prosecute. There were, of course, gang cases, cases where you had recalcitrant or uncooperative witnesses. Then you have cases with no eyewitnesses and cold cases. But I think the most difficult of them all would be what is called a no-body case. End of the day, you have no idea how that person was murdered. You don't know when or where they were murdered. And even the question of if a murder occurred still to some extent remains unanswered completely. To handle one of these cases involves incredible attention to detail. The prosecutor essentially has to weave together a tapestry of evidence, circumstantial and direct, so that the jurors are left with the idea that not only is this person in fact dead, but that the only person who could possibly be responsible for their disappearance and murder is the defendant. This is the type of case we are discussing today. In 2008, Anna Kripp was an ambitious, well-educated young woman of 25 from Belgrade, Serbia, when she met Brian Walsh, the son of a prominent Boston neurosurgeon. By 2015, Anna and Brian had married in Serbia and began to build a life for themselves in the coastal village of Cohasset, south of Boston. Anna worked as a regional manager for Tishman Speyer, a property management and real estate brokerage. Friends described her as a devoted mother who tried to maximize her time with her children and husband. While she would spend the work week in D.C., she would always return on the weekends to Cohasset to be with her family. You're talking about someone that worked 50 to 60 hours a week, got in an Uber to the airport and took a 2-hour flight, and then took a cab to Cohasset to spend a day and a half with her kids, a close friend told reporters. She's amazing. However, soon trouble began to brew when Brian's father died in 2018.
You know, I understand that she did a lot for her family, traveling back and forth, and making sure that she always had that time for her children, you know, and her spouse. That's what we're supposed to do, you know.
Dr. Thomas Walsh left his son Brian with absolutely nothing. His will noted that Dr. Walsh was not in contact with Brian because
I think that's what really started his spiral in stealing, lying, saying he had that Andy Warhol painting. I think he was always trying to make a quick buck, trying to be more of the breadwinner than his wife.
bequeathing him only well wishes and nothing else. This led to a protracted legal fight over the doctor's estate. Brian was ultimately unsuccessful in contesting the will, suggesting that his father's signature was a forgery. According to the executor, Dr. Walsh had a severe falling out with his son, and Brian had ran off with a significant amount of his money, leading to nearly zero contact between the two over the last 10 years. Later that same year, Brian was indicted on federal fraud charges for allegedly selling fake Andy Warhol artwork online. Brian's LinkedIn profile says nothing about art dealing, but instead lists him as the CFO of a company called Let's, standing for Leadership and Effective Teamwork Strategies, which apparently provides cybersecurity training. His profile also shows him as the CFO of Capital Letters Consulting, which has little to no footprint online. According to reports, shortly after Anna and Brian married, a buyer saw two Andy Warhol paintings for sale on eBay. The listing included photographs of authentication stamps. The buyer arranged to buy the paintings, part of Warhol's Shadows series, for $80,000. However, upon receiving the paintings, the buyer discovered there was no authentication stamps and the canvases appeared new. Investigators believe Walsh gained access to the paintings by telling a friend, the lawful owner.
You know, Brian had to be a complete moron to think that these people that buy these paintings would know that this painting was fake. A complete moron. Allegedly. a moron. Sorry. I should say allegedly.
That he could sell them for a good price. However, the friend told investigators that after Walsh took possession of the paintings, valued in the hundreds of thousands, Walsh vanished. Walsh was arrested in 2018 and would ultimately plead guilty to wire fraud, interstate fraud, and possession of fraudulent goods. By April of 2021, Walsh had pleaded guilty to 3 federal counts in exchange for a recommended sentence of incarceration and supervised release, and to return the stolen artwork. Walsh would not be sentenced until February of 2024. As we will find, something far more nefarious would take place in the months.
Not that I think anyone special would be watching this, but I should put he's an alleged moron. I mean, come on. Who in their right mind would think that they would get away with selling these paintings and on fresh canvases? God.
In between. Investigators now believe that Anna had started an affair with a man in Washington, D.C., and had even spent Thanksgiving of 2022 with the man in Ireland. The man told investigators he had been dating Anna for several months, and they also spent Christmas Eve together. The pair had planned to celebrate the New Year together on January 4th after she returned from Massachusetts. Anna's friends told investigators during this time her marriage to Brian Walsh was strained, and she was planning to move her children to Washington, D.C.
Now, this is where I think his second spiral. So I think his dad not leaving him anything, in which I don't think really did he think he was going to get anything. You didn't speak to your father for 10 years. What did you think he was going to leave you? You were lucky that he left you a well wish in his will. And then I think him finding out that Anna was having an affair. Was it wrong of Anna? Yes, it was very wrong. Should she have divorced first? Yes. Do we always make the right decisions? No. When we're not happy in our situations, we find a place of happiness. And she was not happy at home. Her husband was scamming people out of thousands, hundreds, and thousands of dollars to begin with. She wanted nothing to do with that, I'm sure. So I think that was the second spiral for him to commit the crime that unfortunately ended Anna's life.
Anna had allegedly given her husband some sort of ultimatum over the federal fraud case, making it clear she wanted the children to be with her. By December, prosecutors say it had become evident that Mr. Walsh was suspecting his wife of having an affair. He was routinely visiting the Instagram page of one of her male friends, and on December 26, his mother, with his input and direction, obtained and hired a private investigator to surveil Anna Walsh in Washington, D.C. 2 days after Christmas, on December 27th, Walsh makes a Google search for, quote, "What's the best state to divorce for a man?" On December 30th, Anna flies home from D.C. to Massachusetts to be with her family during the holiday weekend, with plans to return to D.C. on January 3rd. New Year's Eve of 2022 would be the last time Anna Walsh would be seen alive. That evening, Brian and Anna hosted a dinner party at their home with a friend named Jem. The friend arrived at 8:30 p.m. and left sometime between 1 and 1.
Do you know what really gets me is she's having this affair and she's going home, and I'm kind of gathering that she's not thinking Brian knows about this affair, but in fact he does. I mean, he's catching on. He might be a moron, but he knows, when somebody's not being faithful to you. And also, he had his mom hire a private investigator. I also have a video on that. She's trying to keep him happy long enough to get the children out of the house. And I think Brian knew this. So he was like, oh, I've got to do something quick. And I think that's when he was like, we got to We got to get rid of her, or she's about to take my kids. My father hated me. I lost thousands of dollars. And now my kids are going to be gone. My marriage is ruined. And this was his way. Yeah, you're right. In the picture, they do look happy. But I can put on a smiling face also in the worst of pain, you know? I think she should have waited for the affair. I think that's what set off this third thing for Brian, was this affair. I think not that he should have done whatever he did to her, but I think had she just held off and waited till she got her children out of there and then been to this guy, you know, look, let's hold off. Let's not post on Instagram. Let's not post on Facebook. Let's keep this on the down low between you and I. Let's not even call each other, you know, because you just don't know how one person will act. And, well, we know how Brian acted.
30 a.m. During the dinner, there was no indication that anything was amiss. According to a statement made by Brian Walsh, Anna and Brian went to bed shortly after their friend left. Anna told him she had a work emergency and needed to fly to D.C. in the morning. However, friends say Happy New Year messages sent to Anna were never returned. Brian Walsh told police that the morning of New Year's Day, Anna got ready and kissed him goodbye and told him to go back to sleep. He says she then took an Uber or Lyft to the airport between 6 and 7 a.m. Walsh later made breakfast for his boys. Walsh told police a babysitter arrived in the afternoon and he left home to get groceries at around 3 p.m. He then went to see his mother around 4 p.m. in Swampscott, about an hour drive from Cohasset. But he did not have his cell phone and got lost, making the trip long.
So Anna had to have been unalived after the friend left and before the babysitter came, right? Am I right?
Longer than usual. Walsh claims he left his mother's home within about 15 minutes of arriving to run errands for her at Whole Foods and CVS. However, no receipts exist and surveillance video does not show him entering either of those stores. Walsh told police he eventually returned home to Cohasset at about 8 p.m. But now prosecutors say the evidence from January 1st tells a far different story than what Walsh claimed. Despite his claims that he had lost his phone, investigators have revealed that subsequent analysis of his phone determined that it was actually plugged in the morning of January 1st. And while his phone stayed at the house, the oldest child's cell phone did not. Cell phone data from January 1st showed the oldest child's device had traveled to 2 stores. Surveillance video showed Brian.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking is when they went into the bedroom after the kids had been asleep, he was a busy man that night. Because you think, what time did the friend leave? After midnight, right? So it doesn't take that long to unalive somebody, especially if you're going to choke them or suffocate them or whatever. But did he move her body from the house to the car? And where would he have done the dismembering of her? That's what I'm not getting. That's what I'm having a hard time with. Because if she no longer made contact when they were sending Happy New Year's things to her and she wasn't responding, okay? So it had to have been between the time the friend left and the kids woke up. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. In the basement. That's where they found the blood in the basement. Okay. Yes. And then, okay. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Walsh walking into those same stores by himself. Additionally, at around 5:30 p.m. on the 1st, surveillance video showed Walsh and his vehicle going to a dumpster in the parking lot of a liquor store and disposing of items before returning to his car. Shortly after that, cell phone data shows the device traveled to the dumpster at an apartment complex where Brian Walsh's mother lived. The phone then traveled to a Lowe's store where Walsh is also seen on surveillance footage. He purchased 5 5-gallon buckets, a hacksaw, 48 terry cloth towels, a full coverage suit, 200
that gossip rumor in Nintendo lady, she calls that aisle the Herder aisle. She's so funny. Okay.
disposable rags, trash bags, and cleaning products. The phone then travels to a CVS store where Walsh was also seen on surveillance video purchasing 13 types of hydrogen peroxide. Something else very sinister took place that day. Prosecutors have learned that Walsh made a series of Google searches from his son's iPad. These included how long before a body starts to smell, 10 ways to dispose of a dead body if you really need to, how long for someone to be missing to inherit, how to clean blood from wooden floor. Returning to Brian's version of events, on January 2nd, Walsh told investigators that he took one of his children for ice cream at a juice bar in Norwell while the babysitter watched his 2 other kids. However, just after noon that day, prosecutors say Walsh had made several more Google searches, including hacksaw best tool to dismember, can you be charged with murder without a body, and can you identify a body with broken teeth?
Oh my God. Like, dude, you might as well just say you did it because all your Google searches says you did. Why do people get on their phones like that? Oh, doesn't. Yeah, you're right. Because premeditated would mean he just did it, didn't have to ask questions, didn't need to know questions, just did it, right? So what does he get? Is he charged? What is it? I have a video about all the charges now.
Later that same day, according to surveillance video, Walsh traveled to a Home Depot in Rockland wearing a black surgical mask and gloves and made a cash purchase. Walsh bought $450 worth of cleaning supplies, including mops, a bucket, tarps, goggles, a hatchet, and baking soda. Anna's cell phone pinged in the area of Walsh's Cohasset home on that day. The next day, Walsh was at it again. On January 3rd, the day that Anna had booked a flight to return to D.C.
Yeah, he pled guilty to 2 charges. I know that, just not the murder, the Herder one.
Google search history revealed Brian was searching for what happens to hair on a dead body, what is the rate of decomposition of a body found in a plastic bag compared to on a surface in the woods, and can baking soda mask or make a body smell good?
Oh my God.
That same day, cell phone data tracked Walsh's whereabouts to an apartment complex in Abington. Surveillance video shows he exited his car with a heavy garbage bag and put it into a dumpster. Later, he traveled to another apartment complex in the same town where he again discarded items in a dumpster. These garbage bags were taken away and incinerated by the time police tracked them down. January 4th, police in D.C. and Cohasset are notified by employees at Anna's workplace, real estate company Tishman Speyer in D.C., that she did not show up for work. Prosecutors say this is the first time police have been alerted that Anna is missing and that Brian had not notified anyone at this time. According to Brian Walsh's defense attorney, he called her workplace to ask whether they knew of her whereabouts before the employer called police. Brian leaves a voicemail for a friend saying, Anna hasn't been in touch for a few days, adding that he's trying to reach anyone who may have been in touch with her. He ends with, I'm sure everything is fine. That same day, Cohasset police went to Anna Walsh's home for a well-being check. Officers noticed that the seats in Brian's Volvo are down and that there was a plastic liner in the back of the car. Later, forensic analysis would reveal the presence of blood. According to prosecutors, Walsh visited Home Goods and TJ Maxx to buy towels and bath mats and visited Lowe's to buy squeegees and a trash can that same day.
God.
For the first time, Brian speaks with investigators and provides details of his whereabouts for the last few days. January 5th, Cohasset police announced Anna Walsh is missing and asked the public to come forward with any information, saying she was last seen shortly after midnight on New Year's Day. That same day, police noticed that the plastic liner is gone from Brian Walsh's vehicle and the carpet of the car showed fresh vacuum streaks. Cell phone data shows Walsh went to Swampscott, where his mother lives, and traveled to the corner of an apartment complex where there is a dumpster. 10 trash bags that originated from this dumpster contained bloodstains, cleaning materials, a hacksaw, a hatchet, a purse, and boots worn by Anna Walsh, and her COVID-19 vaccination card. January 6th, massive ground search is launched by police, including K-9 officers and search and rescue teams in the wooded areas near the Walsh home. Later that day, a fire breaks out in the attic of another Cohasset home where Anna lived until a few months ago. The police chief later says the fire is a very strange coincidence, but the Massachusetts Department of Fire Services determined that the cause of the fire was accidental. January 7th, investigators receive an email saying, quote, "We have the so-named Anna Walsh with us here. We had a deal worth $127,000. She messed up," read the email. It goes on to say, "We have her here with us, and if she doesn't pay the money, then she'll never be back. And we know that the police and the FBI are involved. Good luck finding us." Investigators said the email, which was sent to a Cohasset Police Department detective, was suspicious because it did not put forth a timeline to respond to the demand and did not include contact information. At least 6 investigators are tasked with driving to the North Shore of Massachusetts and watching surveillance video to try to verify Walsh's timeline of events. Investigators do not observe Walsh on video at any of the locations he claimed to be on January 1st. A ground search of the area around the Walsh's home, including 20 troopers, 3 K-9 teams, and a state police air wing, along with draining the pool at the home and a search of a nearby stream, yields no positive results. Cohasset Police and Massachusetts State Police announced the search for Anna Walsh has ended. January 8th, investigators execute a search warrant for the Walsh's Cohasset home and find blood and a bloody and damaged knife in the basement. Brian Walsh, 46, is arrested and charged with misleading a police investigation. Anna has now been missing for 1 week. January 9th, Walsh is arraigned and pleads not guilty to a charge of misleading police. Prosecutors explained that no evidence has been found of Anna Walsh taking a rideshare from the couple's home on January.
Whose home? Wasn't it like a home of a friend or something? Like she was living, wasn't it like in Washington, D.C.? Well, there's no way it was a few months ago. I mean, she's been gone a while.
First, this false information caused a delay in the investigation. Prosecutors released an affidavit in support of a criminal complaint that describes Brian Walsh's statements to police as a clear attempt to mislead and delay investigators. The judge sets bail at $500,000 cash. At this time, prosecutors only go as far as to say that the disappearance of Anna Walsh is suspicious. January 10th, police revealed that a search of a garbage transfer station in Peabody included the recovery of several cutting instruments, including a hacksaw and a rug believed to contain biological evidence. Moving to January 17th, an arrest warrant charging Brian Walsh with murder is issued for the death of his wife, according to Norfolk District Attorney Michael Morrissey. January 18th, Brian Walsh is arraigned in Quincy District Court on charges of murder and
Yeah.
disinterring a body without
I
authority.
thought I heard something about
Prosecutor
that too.
Lynn Balin lays out the prosecution theory that Walsh
I thought that there was a fire at their house too, or something like that. Like a small fire. Yeah. But where would the boys have been living? I got other videos that might tell us.
dismembered his wife and disposed of her remains in dumpsters. Walsh enters a plea of not guilty and is held without bail. His attorney at the time, Tracy Minor, issues the following statement. In my experience, where, as here, the prosecution leaks so-called evidence to the press before they provide it to me, their case isn't that strong. When they have a strong case, they give me everything as soon as possible. We shall see what they have and what evidence is admissible in court, where the case will ultimately be decided. Several months later, after a grand jury indictment for the murder charges in March, Walsh is arraigned in Norfolk County Superior Court on April 27th and again pleads not guilty. At the hearing, prosecutor Greg Connor lays out a spate of new details from the investigation. Among them, Anna Walsh had taken out approximately $2.7 million in life insurance on herself, where Brian Walsh is the sole beneficiary. Walsh is again ordered to be held without bail. And finally, last December, Walsh lost his private attorney because he could no longer afford her services. He has since been appointed a public defender. Since we first recorded this episode back in August of 2024, the Brian Walsh case has taken several major turns. On December 2nd, 2024, nearly 2 years after Anna Walsh's disappearance, Judge Diane Frenier scheduled the trial for October 20th of 2025. That date would later get postponed after Walsh was stabbed on September 12th by another inmate with a makeshift weapon at the Norfolk County Sheriff's Correctional Center. Less than a month later, he was transferred to Bridgewater State Hospital for a competency evaluation after his defense argued he was unable to participate in trial preparations following the attack. On November 14th, Judge Frenier announced that a Bridgewater State Hospital doctor deemed Walsh competent to stand trial, and she accepted that ruling. 4 days later, on the morning jury selection was set to begin, Walsh changed his plea on 2 of the 3 counts. He admitted to willfully conveying a human body in violation of state law and to misleading police while maintaining his innocence on the remaining murder charge. According to court records, prosecutors refused to negotiate any plea deal that didn't include a murder admission. If convicted, Walsh faces up to 10 years for misleading police, plus a potential 20-year enhancement tied to the murder charge, and an additional 3 years for the conveyance charge. Sentencing on those counts will come after the murder trial is complete. Jury selection wrapped up on Thursday, November 20th, with 16 jurors seated. 12 will ultimately decide the case, and 4 will serve as alternates. Of the group, 9 are women and 7 are men. Their backgrounds range widely. Among the jurors are an art teacher, an insurance professional, a chief financial officer, a scientist, and a tech writer. Under the judge's order, all jurors have been asked to refrain from using social media and stop watching or reading the news. Opening statements are set to begin December 1st. We will be streaming the trial gavel to gavel on our sister channel, CC Live Trials. Click the link in the description.
I don't know. I know they don't want to make a plea deal on that murder charge, but there's no. I mean, you said that you played part in the body part, but you didn't do it. But like you said in the private chat, he's gonna say that she committed suicide. Okay, well, why do you need to cut her up and leave her all over Cohasset or whatever the town's called? Sometimes I wonder where people think, their thinking skills are not good. Not good at all. So I have some more videos. I just have to bring them up here. I don't want to spend too much time doing this today because, well, not a lot of people want to sit here with me on a Saturday. It's going to play that video. Oh, this one.
Welcome back to the Searches for Anna Walsh. I'm podcast producer Matt Fortin with a kind of interview we haven't done before. I'm speaking with Boston Magazine contributing editor Wyndham Lewis, and we'll discuss his fascinating 2023 article, The Secret Life of Cohasset conman Brian Walsh. Before we dive into this conversation that I thought was really interesting, I do want to emphasize that Brian Walsh has pleaded not guilty to the charges associated with his wife's disappearance and alleged murder. His attorneys have turned down our request for comment and interview requests, including for this episode. So we haven't been able to get his side of the story on the Boston Magazine article. We're having you on today because a couple years ago, in April of 2023, you wrote a big investigation for Boston Magazine called The Secret Life of Brian Walsh. Tell me about writing that story.
Well, it's an interesting story behind the story because, really what had happened, with Anna's murder was relatively well covered, but what people didn't know was who this guy was, and that became a very interesting pursuit. So I got a call on January 3rd or 4th or 5th, I think. It was still a missing persons issue, and I had a friend who does a lot of PR for restaurants around Boston, and that's how I know her. I often write about food and lifestyle and all that other kind of stuff. So I got a call from this friend of mine, and she said, "Do you remember Brian Walsh?" And I said, well, this is Boston. Can you be more specific? And she said, Brian Walsh, the guy that used to have all those, expensive dinners and sort of court all the local food writers and editors. And I said, I hadn't really been in town lately, but I'll ask around. And I, started calling friends of mine who had been invited to these dinners and then attended these dinners and sort of, poking around about who this guy was. And it turns out that he was, sort of, in quotes, a chef groupie. He was a guy who really coveted being known to, the top chefs in town, was a real foodie, knew his stuff. But he would go in and ask if he could have a dinner for 10 or 12 people. And then he would insist on developing the chef's tasting menu with the chef, sort of ingratiate himself and get to know them better. And, then he would throw these, dinners that would, probably top out about, sometimes $8,000, $10,000, $12,000, with wine and drinks. And, that was his way of being a sort of big man around town.
So a lot of their network, Anna and Brian Walsh, you found through your investigation, they had a big network in this Boston restaurant scene, right? So tell me about what people were thinking and talking about when the news was first breaking in early 2023, right after New Year's that year, that Anna's missing. No one's heard from her. No one knows where she is. What were people saying?
People sort of...
Sorry, I had to run in... my alarm went off for the tater tot casserole. Okay, so Ronnie, let's talk about this other house and the fire for a minute. Okay. Anna was last seen around midnight on January 1st. Brian made breakfast for the kids on January 2nd. And on January 4th, her employer reported her missing. Okay, where do you think I couldn't find info about this second house? So let's look at the YouTube search. Okay. I thought maybe you guys wanted to hear about his lavish lifestyle. Okay. All right, stop sharing because I got to get the bar to come up. Oh, no, no. Play again. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right, hold on. Brian. Okay, right here. I found it. Hold on.
Up in flames.
Oh.
The twist in the disappearance of a Cohasset mother. Her former home up in flames. The mother of three, Anna Walsh, now missing for 5 days. So is the fire a coincidence or is it a clue in this mystery? Thanks for joining us on this Friday night. I'm Lisa Hughes. The fire broke out as crews were searching the woods near Walsh's home. WBC's Julie McDonald is tracking the breaking details tonight live in Cohasset. Julie?
Down.
Lisa, this has been a wildly busy day in this Cohasset community. It started this morning with an official press conference from police. They detailed the last hours that Anna Walsh was seen at her home overnight New Year's Eve and into those early morning hours on Sunday. But since then, there have been multiple scenes in this town not far apart from each other. The police investigation searching the woods here, and also a really involved fire scene, a smoky fire that was difficult for crews to get to, that destroyed the home where a new family lives and she used to. State police spent hours Friday searching about a square mile of the woods near Anna Walsh's Cohasset home.
It's not normal that she's missing, so we automatically feel that she's in danger by the mere fact that she's missing.
Police say the 39-year-old wife and mother of three was last seen around 4 a.m. Sunday, leaving for Logan Airport to return to a work emergency in Washington, D.C.
At this point, we cannot confirm that she actually got into a ride share in Cohasset. We can further, we have confirmed with the airlines, and that's been a challenge, that she did not board a plane this week.
There's been no activity on her phone or bank cards. Walsh wasn't reported missing until Wednesday.
She is a formidable, strong, competent woman and just a loving wife and mother to, she always says, three.
Okay, so I looked some things up. The house that caught fire, I think, was the former house that she lived in before her and Brian got married. It says the fire occurred on January 6, 2023, while police were actively searching for Anna, who had been missing since New Year's. The home on Jerusalem Road had been sold by the Walsh family to a new family less than a year prior to the incident. So, but you think if she would have been in there, yeah, the fire was back in 2023 on January 6th. So 2 days after her employer reported her missing. Yeah. So, but you think if she would have been in there, they would have found, well, no, not if she was all, dismembered. I don't know what words I can use. It's hard to find words to use for YouTube. I'm trying. But what would... Yeah, that's weird to call a few months ago. a year ago, 2 years ago. Yes, she was last seen by Jem, the friend that was at the party that night that her and Brian had. He was the last one to leave, the last one to see Anna alive. So why this house catching fire? Yeah, catching fire. But you know, if he just got, you know, like rid of skin and hair and all that, but threw the rest, like bone and all that, into the trash, I mean, I can see that maybe that's why the fire was set. Getting rid of some evidence. He had buckets to get rid of. He had how many 450 rags to get rid of, mops, all that stuff. But you think they would have found remnants of that stuff in the fire, right? Well, let's hear what the rest of this has to say.
Beautiful boys, 3 beautiful boys who she loves so much.
As police searched the woods near her current home, firefighters responded to Walsh's most recent address, a home they sold to a new family less than a year ago.
The fire ended up getting up into the attic space, and we had extreme difficult trying to access the attic. And once the fire started coming out through the roof, we had to pull all members out of the building.
And the fire marshal's still on scene there over on Jerusalem Road, investigating the cause of that significant fire. The family who lives there now, a couple, their toddler and a nanny, who were all home at the time this afternoon around 2:15. They got out safely. Back here at the search scene, police have wrapped up for...
Wait, I got to rewind that.
Back here at the search scene, police have wrapped up for tonight, but say they will be back out looking in this area tomorrow. Here at the search scene, police have wrapped up.
Oh my God.
Significant fire. The family who lives there now, a couple, their toddler and a nanny, who were all home at the time this afternoon around 2:15. They got out safely. Back here at the search scene.
So this... Okay, if there was a family living there, unless he knows these people really well and has keys to their house, it was just a fire. I mean, there's no way he would have been able to get stuff in there to burn that couldn't get thrown into the dumpsters. I mean, because they said that the baby and them all got out okay. So apparently they were home. Right?
Police have wrapped up for tonight, but say they will be back out looking in this area.
Okay, let me hear it one more time.
Road, investigating the cause of that significant fire. The family who lives there now, a couple, their toddler and a nanny, who were all home at the time this afternoon around 2:15. They got out safely. Back here at the search scene, police have wrapped up for tonight, but say they will be back out looking in this area tomorrow, Saturday. Live in Cohasset, I'm Julie McDonald, WBZ News.
The nanny and the baby. So
last time anyone saw Anna Walsh alive was New Year's.
It was the nanny and the baby. So I don't, unless Brian snuck, because they had a hard time getting into the attic is what my issue is. And I'm just wondering if he didn't have keys to that house and just watched. Because there is times that he's missing, like they don't have accounted for. Do you think maybe he went in there, left all that stuff in there, and then set the house on fire? I don't know. That's just weird. But chances are the homeowners changed the locks on the house. I'm sure they're probably pin pads or something at this point. You know? I don't know. It's just weird. You know, because if the friend was last to see her, everything had to have taken place after the friend left. He didn't plan it well, or he would have had everything together instead of making all these trips to Home Depot, twice, 3 times. Had he had it all put together, I think that this probably would have been something that was unfounded. I honestly do. I'm glad that he was a moron, an alleged moron, because I think that had he had everything pre-bought and bought little at a time, like you just don't go to the store and buy a whole freaking jigsaw after your wife goes missing. Like, come on. Like, you buy that months in advance. Like, I'm not trying to give people, information on how to make the perfect murder, but I mean, we all know this in true crime. Like, why aren't these people thinking when they're doing this? I wonder what took him so long to get rid of the body. PD saw the liner in his car on the 5th and it was gone on the 6th. I think that he noticed there was something on the liner, and that's probably why he got rid of it. I think maybe he didn't notice it right away, considering he was busy doing everything else. He thought he had everything clean and taken care of. But I want to know how these dumpsters that he went to showed no traces of her DNA at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no DNA in these trash cans and these dumpsters. You throw human remains in a dumpster, you're going to leave something behind when it gets dumped. Or was there? And I just don't know. I just think this whole, I found this whole case strange from the beginning. Oh, okay. So, well, those weren't burnt up in a fire. And I'm sure they probably got Brian's DNA and fingerprints on all of that stuff. But Monday starts the case. We'll hear all the evidence. It will start 8:00 Boston time, or whatever Boston time. I can't say mass time. So that would be 7:00 my time. So I'm gonna hold off until 9, give it an hour, so that way, we can zoom through, breaks. I doubt I'm gonna be able to, just for the simple fact is no trial has ever in American history started on time. So I'm sure Monday's going to be a long day with getting everything together for the lawyers. But unless you want me to watch something else, but that video that you sent me, I felt was very informative. Thank you. And I thought everyone else would find it informative also. But unless there's something else anyone wants me to play or talk about, I'll go ahead and end this at an hour. They say the trial's going to last 3 to 4 weeks. I've got the time. I actually really do. Like, I hate to admit it, I have the time. I don't think I have anything but therapy. And I'll do that in the afternoons. So I really don't have anything to set my time to, but the case of Brian Walsh and justice for Anna and justice for their children. I wonder if he's being able to see them while he's tomorrow. Is tomorrow Monday? Is today Sunday? Wait a minute. What day is it? Girl, you just had me. I was like, whoa. I thought it was, I'm like, damn, it's Sunday? Because we're going to a birthday party today, and I thought maybe I missed it. But if I'm up and going Monday morning at 7 o'clock, I might start at 7. I don't know. That's really early. I haven't even had my coffee. And we have a snowstorm, so it's going to take time to travel around to my area. We have lots of snow out there. Lots and lots and lots of snow. Do you guys want to see my pretty Christmas tree? I wish I could keep it playing, but it won't play. It's making me mad. Isn't that pretty? I thought it was, but it won't keep playing. It's just, I mean, I could go in and edit the video to make it longer, but I haven't done that yet. My neck has been really causing me a lot of pain. So that is pretty. It's really pretty. I had a mental breakdown yesterday. We had went to a friend of Son's, not a friend. Well, it was a church thing because someone had passed away back home, back on the island. And my neck was just hurting me so bad. And I walked out to the car and I just screamed and cried all the way home. And I just told him, I said, this wasn't supposed to be like this. It wasn't supposed to be this way. I was supposed to be fixed. I'm not supposed to be in so much pain. And yeah, so that was a rough. He was trying to call Amy. I was, saying dumb stuff, and he was trying to call Amy. He was all worried and poor guy. But anyways, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And hopefully people will watch the replay. But yeah, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and stay safe. It's wild out there. You got Brian Walsh's not Brian Walsh walking around, but you got people like him walking around. But have a good night, And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.